Gilligan's Island ruined lives. I know that sounds dramatic for a cheerful sitcom about castaways, but hear me out. Behind those palm trees was a pilot so chaotic that one actor quit after the very first day, and a version of the theme song that didn't even mention half the cast. Before America ever heard the iconic tune, the show launched with a different opening, a different supporting cast, and a pilot so rough, producers quietly wondered if the entire project had been a mistake. Here are the 20 weird facts about Gilligan's Island. Hidden behind the laughs were moments so unbelievable that fans still can't believe they really happened, including a near-real Coast Guard rescue and a cast member who actually ended up stranded overnight. But here's the real twist. Gilligan's Island was a show about people who couldn't escape, and somehow everyone involved ended up trapped too. Some by fame, some by typecasting, some by contracts that paid them nothing while the network made millions. Sit right back and enjoy a series of overlooked, bizarre, and almost unbelievable details hidden behind one of TV's most unlikely legends. A show that imprisoned everyone it touched. Number 1. Jerry Van Dyke rejected the role. Before Bob Denver ever tripped over a single palm tree, producers tested several actors for the lead role. The wildest near miss came from Jerry Van Dyke, who took one look at the script and declared it one of the worst things he had ever read. His rejection accidentally opened the door for Bob Denver, meaning if Jerry had said yes, the Gilligan we know never would have existed. The irony? The script Jerry called the worst became a cultural phenomenon that's still replayed 60 years later. Sometimes the worst decisions lead to the best accidents. And speaking of casting miracles, Gilligan wasn't the only role that nearly changed TV history. Number 2. Tina Louise expected to be the leading star. Tina Louise joined the show believing the entire series would center around her glamorous movie star character. She thought she was signing up to be the star, the name above the title, the face on every poster. When she realized it was an ensemble comedy, she felt blindsided and deeply, permanently frustrated. The misunderstanding created years of on-set tension and influenced her near-total absence from reunions. A quiet feud fans felt but rarely heard about. Gilligan's Island was supposed to set her free as a star. Instead, it became the very thing that trapped her in a role she never wanted, in a show she grew to resent. She spent decades trying to escape the island, and never quite could. Some actors signed on for fame, and others signed on for much stranger reasons. Number 3. Natalie Schafer took the job for the Hawaii trip. Natalie Schafer accepted the role of Mrs. Howell almost entirely because the pilot filmed in Hawaii. She assumed the show wouldn't last, so why not enjoy a paid vacation? That impulsive decision turned her into one of TV's most memorable socialites, and trapped her in a hit show she never expected to succeed. She took the job as a joke. It became her legacy. Another soul who couldn't leave the island, even when the cameras stopped rolling. Years later, one cast member's unexpected talent, or rather complete lack of one, would create chaos every time the script called for a song. Number 4. Dawn Wells had to lip sync because she was tone deaf. Dawn Wells, who played Marianne, was charming, upbeat, and lovable, but completely tone deaf. Even a simple tune like "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow" sent the cast into fits because her off-key singing knocked everyone else off rhythm. The cast would bite their cheeks to keep from laughing as her voice derailed takes, so producers hired singer-songwriter Jackie DeShannon to dub her voice in secret. She had to lip-sync almost every musical moment, and for years, fans had no idea Marianne's voice wasn't even hers. It was the first of many illusions the show would ask its cast to maintain. The perfect girl next door wasn't quite as perfect as she seemed. One rare exception was the second Ginger Grant, 1967, where her inability to sing became part of the joke. But while Dawn was faking her vocals, other cast members faced something much worse. Number 5. The Lagoon looked tropical, but smelled terrible. On TV, the Lagoon looked like a perfect tropical paradise. In reality, it was a glorified backyard pool with no chlorine. The water turned murky, smelled awful, and attracted clouds of bugs. Production assistants privately called it the swamp. The tropical paradise was a lie. Just like the show itself, beautiful on the surface, rotting underneath. The real danger on the island wasn't a volcano. It was whatever was growing in that lagoon. But the strangest connection of all belonged to the star of the show himself. Number 6. Bob Denver's historical family line. Bob Denver came from American royalty. The city of Denver, Colorado was named after his great-great-grandfather, James William Denver, a territorial governor whose legacy was carved into maps and history books. But Bob rejected that legacy entirely. He chose instead to play a bumbling fool in a sailor hat. It's the ultimate irony. The heir to the Denver name became famous for playing the dumbest man on television, and even after the show wrapped, the Gilligan legacy kept evolving in ways no one saw coming. Number 7. CBS had to color correct the early episodes. When CBS prepared the first major rerun package in the 1970s, they discovered several early episodes had never been properly color balanced during their original broadcast. Technicians had to manually restore and correct hues frame by frame, meaning the version most fans know isn't the original 60s footage. It's the corrected, enhanced version. Even the show's history had to be rewritten. Another layer of illusion, another touch-up to hide the cracks underneath. But that wasn't the only piece of Gilligan history that needed rescuing. Number 8. And the rest was removed. Thanks to Bob Denver, the first version of the theme song lumped the Professor and Mary Ann into a single line. And the rest. Bob Denver hated it. He refused to continue unless the entire cast received billing, even offering up his own spot to make it happen. Because of him, the full cast was eventually included, creating the theme replayed around the world. In a show where the network treated actors as disposable, Bob Denver fought to make sure everyone was seen. One cast member, however, made a decision that would pay off for the rest of her life. Number 9. Dawn Wells was the only one to get rerun residuals. While most of the cast earned nothing from decades of reruns, Dawn Wells became the lone exception. Her husband and agent spotted a tiny clause in her contract and renegotiated it. Producers agreed because they assumed the show would flop. Decades later, she was the only cast member still earning significant residuals. A decision that changed her life while her co-stars got nothing. Not a single dollar. The network made millions. The cast got memories and typecasting. It's the cruelest irony of all. The show about being stranded on an island financially stranded almost everyone who made it. Quick heads up, the wildest facts are still coming. There's one about a prop radio that accidentally picked up real broadcasts, and another about how the cast learned the show was canceled in the most brutal way imaginable. Stick with me. The final entries are the ones fans never talk about. If you're enjoying this deep dive, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Now let's get back into it, and into Sherwood Schwartz's attempt to recreate the magic. Number 10, Dusty's Trail, the strange Western reboot. Creator Sherwood Schwartz tried a Western reimagining of Gilligan's Island called Dusty's Trail, again starring Bob Denver. Despite copying the character types beat for beat, the new series never caught on and lasted only one season. Even the creator couldn't escape the island. He spent years trying to recapture lightning in a bottle, and failed. Meanwhile, Bob Denver had his own doubts before ever putting on the sailor hat. Number 11, Bob Denver worried about typecasting. Denver hesitated to take the role, afraid he'd spend his life trapped in the shadow of Dobie Gillis. But his love for physical comedy won out. His wife later said his instant chemistry with Alan Hale Jr. convinced him he'd made the right choice. He was right to worry. Bob Denver would spend the rest of his career trying to prove he was more than Gilligan. He rarely succeeded. The island claimed him too, but not everyone on set was so confident. Number 12, Natalie Schafer hid her age. Natalie Schafer guarded her real age like a state secret. Almost nobody outside close friends knew she'd been born in 1900. She played Mrs. Howell well into her 60s while appearing far younger. A surprise fans didn't learn until after her death. Another illusion, another secret. The show demanded perfection, even if it meant hiding the truth, and she wasn't the only cast member with serious doubts. Number 13. Most of the cast thought the show would fail. Several actors thought the show was too silly to succeed. Tina Louise felt misled. Natalie Schafer expected a flop. Even Bob Denver was unsure. The show's lasting cultural impact shocked every one of them. They thought they were making disposable TV. Instead, they made a prison they'd never escape. But off-screen, the cast formed bonds stronger than rumors ever suggested. Number 14. Dawn Wells later lived with Natalie Schafer. Years after filming ended, Dawn Wells moved in with Natalie Schafer to care for her during her final illness. Their unlikely friendship became one of the most touching off-screen stories in the show's history. Maybe the island wasn't the prison. Maybe it was the only place some of them ever truly belonged. Not everything on set was sentimental though, especially one prop that worked too well. Number 15. The radio prop picked up real broadcasts. Here's where things get truly bizarre. The Castaways radio wasn't just a prop, it actually received Los Angeles broadcasts, and cast and crew listened to real news and music between takes. Imagine that. Actors pretending to be stranded, listening to the real world on a radio that wasn't supposed to work. Executives eventually had it disabled, worried it would interfere with continuity. Even the props blurred the line between fiction and reality. And that wasn't the only technical problem created by the show's location. Number 16. Highway noise made filming extremely difficult. The set sat dangerously close to a major highway, making sound recording a nightmare. Traffic drowned out dialogue and forced the crew to cram scenes into rare moments of silence. It's why so many episodes relied heavily on ADR, the tropical island paradise. It was 20 feet from a freeway, another illusion, another lie hidden behind the laughs. Even after cancellation, the island kept drifting into stranger places, including space. Number 17. Gilligan's Planet used a laugh track. Gilligan's Planet, the bizarre sci-fi cartoon spin-off, became one of the final Saturday morning cartoons to use a traditional laugh track. The practice was fading out by the 1980s, but Gilligan kept it alive one last time. The island followed these people even into animation, even into space. There was no escape. Speaking of alternate realities, one audition nearly changed sitcom history forever. Number 18. Carroll O'Connor auditioned for the Skipper. Before Alan Hale Jr. became the Skipper, Carroll O'Connor, later famous as Archie Bunker, auditioned for the role. Had he been cast, the entire tone of the show, and possibly television history itself, might have shifted. Imagine Archie Bunker screaming at Gilligan. It would have been a completely different show, maybe a darker one. Fans waited decades for closure, and one reunion finally delivered it. Number 19. The cast reunited years later on Roseanne. Because the original series ended without a finale, the cast's appearance on Roseanne gave fans a rare chance to see them together again on the iconic Lagoon set. For many, it felt like the emotional goodbye the 1967 finale never gave them. A sitcom about a working-class family gave Gilligan's Castaways the closure a major network never did, but no fact hits harder than the last one. Number 20. CBS canceled the show for Gunsmoke. Imagine this. Season 4 is greenlit. Cast members buy houses. Everyone feels secure. They're making mortgage payments, planning their kids' futures around steady work, and then, out of nowhere, CBS cancels the show to make room for Gunsmoke, a series already past its prime. Here's the cruelest part. The entire cast learned the news the same way the public did. Not from a phone call, not from their agents, not from the producers. They found out by reading it in TV Guide. No finale, no rap party, no goodbyes, no warning, just canceled. CBS abandoned them exactly the way the Castaways were abandoned on that island, stranded mid-sentence, left behind without explanation. The Castaways were trapped on television's most famous island forever, and the actors who played them, they were stranded too, in typecasting, in resentment, in a legacy they never asked for and couldn't escape. And that wraps up these 20 strange, forgotten, and unbelievable facts about Gilligan's Island. Behind the lagoon water and slapstick chaos was a production filled with rewrites, near misses, malfunctioning props, and behind-the-scenes drama that turned a simple sitcom into a pop culture time capsule. But here's the final irony. Gilligan's Island was a fantasy about escape, but everyone involved, cast, crew, even the creator, spent decades trying to escape from it. Some succeeded, some didn't. And some, like Dawn Wells living with Natalie Schafer in her final days, realized that maybe the island wasn't the prison. Maybe it was the only place they ever truly belonged. If these stories took you back to the island, drop a comment with your favorite Castaway moment, or better yet, which Castaway would you have been? And of course, like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss another deep dive. And if you enjoyed this trip through TV history, check out our breakdown. The 10 Commandments, 1956. 20 weird facts you didn't know. Another wild Hollywood saga is waiting. The island never lets anyone go, but at least now you know what it costs to stay.